Welcome to Money Matters with Greg, where we dive into the money conversations shaping your life. From investments to estate planning, insurance to taxes, we cover it all with a fresh perspective. Join Greg and his guests each week to get inspired and take control of your financial future. Let's get started. Securities and investment advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.
Good afternoon. This is Money Matters with Greg. I'm Greg Farrell, CEO and owner of Farrell Wealth, a wealth management firm in Valparaiso, Indiana. And today we're broadcasting again on 103.1 FM, WVLP. The show's Money Matters with Greg. You can find us on anywhere you pod as well. And we're just excited to be here. So looking forward to another episode. This will be our 170th episode here today. And you can find us anywhere on socials, as well as just email me, greg@farrellwealth.com, if you have any questions and any updates or anything else you'd like to cover here that has to do with money. We talk about money on the show. We have a number of guests on the show that talk about money, everything from their expertise or their forte in different industries, as well as real estate, mortgages. You talk about credit card debt, you name it here. Really talk about financial literacy as well as the markets. With that being said, I want to be able to review kind of what's been going on with the stock market, just because it keeps on hitting all-time highs, and we've just been on such a rip and on such a tear this year. Knock on wood, it keeps on continuing here through October, and I want to fill you in on that. I also want to fill you in on some of the government shutdown conversation as far as what's been going on with that and how that affects or might affect your investments and what it has done in the past, and what a little historical take. And then I'm going to talk about my upcoming trip to Washington, D.C. I'm very excited to meet with many of our lawmakers here in the state of Indiana, along with about 1,000 graduates of the Goldman Sachs 10K SB membership that I'm a part of as a graduate. So very excited to do that, and I want to fill you in on that as well. So as I mentioned before, we are broadcasting here at 103.1 FM WVLP, and we broadcast on Thursdays at 11 o'clock, and then it's replayed on Saturdays at 1 o'clock as well. And then you can find us also as far as podcasting, any pods out there, Apple, Spotify, and the like. So let's get to it. I want to just talk about the markets here real quick as far as equities. Recently, after 2 days of a solid back-to-back gains that were really fueled by trade deal hopes and earnings momentum overall, the earnings have been really solid. Third quarter earnings are coming in weekly and daily, and started just last week. Equity markets really kind of took a breather here yesterday, kind of rocking back from their all-time highs, but there's a lot of sideways trade overall just recently. Today we're down a little bit in regards to the markets, but nothing terrible. It really seems like we're just following on what's going on with the trade deals. As trade deals are said, so goes the market as far as volatility. You have seen a number of rare earth prices drop. You've seen gold get hit recently. So it's been interesting to see what comes about with that, because the negotiations with China are really pushing that narrative for sure. But again, we hit all-time highs overall as far as the stock market. I think the S&P 500 is up close to 15% for the year. And really, we are just watching trade war, government shutdown. Stocks began to really kind of lose momentum yesterday with President Trump starting to talk about the trade war from the Rose Garden, and basically said this comment of, maybe the meeting won't happen with China at all. And that comment obviously triggered a lot of nervousness and profit taking across the board. So you really are seeing a lot of rare earths and rare earth materials as far as investments and as far as things that are owned out there um, are very important here because uh, as you know, U.S. China, this trade spat really does have to do with China controlling nearly 70% of global production of rare earths, and more importantly, 90% of the refining capacity of those as well. So that is something that we don't have as a nation have something to negotiate with because they hold the cards in regards to that market cap and that those markets and owning so much of it. But starting about 2.5 years ago, really kind of starting with the explosion of Chat GPT, sort of an interesting thing began to happen in earnings calls. And if a company simply mentioned that they were investigating incorporating AI into their business, the stock would typically jump, regardless of details of the plan at all. And this phenomenon really continued to point, and still to this day, Walmart rallied last week just because they said they were working with OpenAI just to create a shopping bot. And now, similar to kind of what could be this kind of what's happening with rare earth materials. Cleveland Cliffs company just came out and announced earnings on Monday, and the stock surged 20%. Interesting, it wasn't really because of the results, which were good results, but not really worth a 20% rally. Instead, it was because of rare earth materials, and the CLF management announced it is exploring commercial rare earth mines at two properties in Minnesota and Michigan, and two regions obviously more friendly with U.S. Demand than China for sure. So that mention alone had the stock pop, and it really set to boost earnings overall as far as future earnings. So they were able to forecast. But as we begin to investigate these rare earth materials, the mining, the refining, adding sort of another tailwind to companies, you really have to be cognizant of the fact that it's important. This issue is important, and it's going to affect your investments. So now nearly anything rare earth specific has been sort of had a substantial run up. So you really want to watch out for those. That there's a lot of it is just based on hypotheticals. So just kind of sending out a little bit of a warning here, that before it was AI and anything AI, now anything rare earth. Now, uh, obviously, we talk about diversification on this show, and any thing you do as far as investments, you should be considering your team, your tax team, your investment team, and your financial advisors as well with these conversations. But it's something to bring up here as we look at this. I hope you're able to gather some things on this show that you wouldn't necessarily see coming, and that's really what we try to do as investors for our clients, is find the trend and then ride the trend. Some of these trends, they've moved so fast and furious, it's been tough to really kind of catch on. You've had some great runs and some things, and you just want to make sure you're cognizant of the fact that of what you're buying and what you're investing in, and that you're making prudent investments, and it's not just a bunch of gobbledygook and just sort of a fake run up on potentially a deal, or some sort of whisper. So I always like to be able to make sure you're being conservative in your investments, and doing your research. And hopefully, our show is um, one of those chances to be able to learn something new as far as what's out there. And right now, we're seeing just a huge move in rare earths. All right, so that's my update on that. As far as the markets go, I really want to dig into what's going on with the government shutdown and how that affects your investments and how that affects the markets. So far, it hasn't affected at all. Everything's gone up. So, hey, most people have yawned about this whole thing, and it's gone on now, even though it's gone on 3 weeks, and it's becoming one of the longest ones as far as the shutdown in history. And really, as we look back and we look at markets and look at the economy, our goal is to provide a perspective to all clients and just sort of uh, help with getting through the noise as much as we can. And we understand that the news headlines can send mixed messages for sure. So I just want to make sure that you're informed and you can take this information and process it however you like uh, about what's really most important to your financial progress and your money here on the show Money Matters with Greg. And the government shutdown is certainly at the forefront of current news cycles. It's now entering its third week. And I really expect that these headlines to grow louder and louder as they move along, adding more political noise and perhaps even polarization overall. But for investors, there's also growing concern of a possible recession. We're not seeing that, but that's what you're hearing in the news. To be clear, the goal of financial planning is to not take sides on which side of Washington is right or wrong or right, but rather to just sort of make sense of it all, especially with the eye towards the risk and the opportunities that you might have in regards to, the investments. So some of the key points to consider I want to bring up is, current government shutdown is now in the top 5 longest shutdowns ever. So it's getting there, primarily affecting government workers and their families, of course, and as well as those that depend on government services. For sure, by law, any furloughed employees will receive all back pay once the shutdown ends. But what makes this shutdown unique is that the federal government is pursuing layoffs, also referred as quote unquote reductions in force or RIFs. Without minimizing the impact of lives on the government workers and their families, the reality is that the federal government employment makes up about 1.8% of the entire workforce in America. And recent reduction in force notices represent just 0.0018% of the total labor market in America. And just so you know, that's a pretty small slice of the entire economy. Historically, government shutdowns have really never had a long-term effect on the stock market. The longest shutdown in history lasted 35 days during President Trump's first term in 2018 and to early 2019. And while the past is no guarantee of the future, the S&P went up to gain 31.5% with dividends in 2019. So there's that. There have also been extended shutdowns under Clinton, under Obama in the past as well. Some were much shorter than the current one. Some were about the same. But just a historical reference more than anything. Extended shutdowns can create modest economic growth headwinds as federal employees sort of postpone spending in government services, experience these disruptions. But most of the lost economic growth is simply postponed until the government reopens. And the key drivers of the investments, such as corporate earnings, valuations, interest rates, and inflation, are really unlikely to significantly shift ever as a result of the government shutdown. And the shutdown is also distinct from the debt ceiling, which has led to credit downgrades in the past. So it's different than that for sure. But altogether, taking government slowdowns, shutdowns will likely attract media attention for sure. They're going to present difficulties for federal employees and even small businesses, as small business loans have halted with the SBA, and a number of different things in regards to government services. So they're going to interrupt those essential services, but they historically represent a temporary interruption and have a minimal financial market effect. So just be calm. As investors, look for opportunities here. The government shutdown is really not a reason to make a change to your financial plan. And that said, if your financial, really your situations or objectives have shifted, you don't hesitate to reach out to your advisors and have a conversation with them and see what they think about what's going on out there. But for us right now, it's much ado about nothing. All right, again, the show's Money Matters with Greg. I'm Greg Farrell, CEO and owner of a wealth management firm, Farrell Wealth, here in Valparaiso, Indiana. And we podcast here on Apple and Spotify, and anywhere you pod. We're at 103.1 FM WVLP and broadcast on Thursdays at 1 o'clock and then Saturdays at 1 o'clock on a repeat. And just wanted to be able to kind of transition from what we're talking about as far as the markets and everything else and just kind of go to something that I'm really excited about for next week. And I just want you to have the opportunity to kind of reach out to me and let me know if you have any questions as business owners and as fellow business owners, if you have any questions for your legislators and your representatives in Washington, D.C. I am very excited to be representing the state of Indiana with my graduates from the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses 10KSB program that I was privy to. And honestly, if I had known how much work was involved, I probably never would have done the program, but it's well worth it. I highly recommend that you be a cohort wherever you might be, whatever state you're in, and represent your state. We had the first cohort here in Indiana. I did a podcast on it. I won't go into everything that we did overall. You can go to that podcast and find out more. But I have an opportunity here coming up that nearly 1,000 of the 16,000 or 17,000 now graduates are have been offered a chance to go to Washington, D.C. and have a summit. It is the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Summit in Washington, D.C. next week. And I'm lucky enough to be meeting with our two state senators and also a congressman here is local to our district in Valparaiso. So very excited to be able to represent the small business community in the state of Indiana as a business owner myself. And from this great state, I'll be meeting with Senator Jim Banks, Congressman Frank Moran, and then Senator Todd Young as well. So really excited to be able to do that. I just wanted to be able to give you an opportunity that if you've got a question as a small business owner or something that really is a high level, it's a bipartisan conversation. I'm representing, small businesses for growth, and I really want to talk about that as a high level. This is not a political thing. This is not one side, wrong or right, back to that whole conversation. But I just wanted to reach out and let my audience know, hey, look, if you've got a question, I want to be able to ask it on your behalf, and I will definitely get back to you as to what was said and how that went down. I'm going to chronicle my efforts next week when I travel to D.C., and really looking forward to any sort of opportunity to promote small businesses and their mission in the state of Indiana. And then really for any state, if you're from another state and you want me to ask a question based on your specific state, I am happy to go to one of my cohorts and that's going to be representing your state and meeting with the administrators and the legislators from that state specifically, because we have team captains. So I'll be a team captain for I think 2 out of the 3 meetings, and then very excited about that. And really just trying to ask some questions about, really everything's on the table in regards to what's affecting you as a small business, and how Washington and your legislators that are your representatives, how they can help you grow your business. So with that being said, just email me, greg@farrellwealth.com. It's really the best way to get a hold of me, or any socials, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. You can DM me on any of those, and I would be happy to either pass your question on to one of those representatives in the state, or ask the question myself if it's in the state of Indiana. So please reach out to me and let me know if there's anything you have an opportunity to ask some really important people that represent you about, that concerns you. Please let me know. Okay. So the show's Money Matters with Greg. Again, thanks for a great show. Great opportunity to be able to provide some value. We talked about the stock market and reviewed that. We talked about the government shutdown and how that might affect your investments. And then we also, I'll let you know how it goes in DC. I should be able to broadcast next week and do a 171st episode. And again, we're on WVLP 103.1 FM. Once again, always recommend that the opinions are those of my own, and not of LPL Financial, which is my broker dealer. And make sure you always consult with your tax attorneys, your investment advisors, before you do anything off the information from the show. But I hope I was helpful in some way. Again, Money Matters with Greg. I'm Greg Farrell, CEO and owner of Farrell Wealth. And the show's about money, and we're excited to have our 170th episode. I'll let you know how DC goes. And thanks for being here today, and we'll talk soon. See ya. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Money Matters with Greg. We hope you gained some valuable insights today. Remember, your financial journey is personal, but you don't have to go it alone. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and share. Until next time, here's to making your money work for you. Securities and investment advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.